So, fun little announcement before we get started. I have been accepted into the new MTGO content creator program, and that means that I'll be working a little more closely with Daybreak Games and Wizards of the Coast in the not too distant future. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like yet, but there's probably fun things coming. Follow me on Twitter if you want more real time updates on that. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Christian has asked me to play with a Dark Depths deck of my choice. Unfortunately, Lumbering Mega Sloth is not currently slated to release on Magic Online, and hopefully it will in the future, but the Fallout cards just aren't there as of right now. And this is the card that I would be most excited about to try in Dark Depths, because it costs one less for each counter among permanents and players. And guess what? Your Dark Depths enters with 10 counters on it. So you can do something like turn 1 Dark Depths, turn 2 Yavimaya, so that you can produce green off Yavimaya and Dark Depths, and just cast an 8/8 on turn 2. And this gives you a very, very low deck building cost alternative win condition. And this is the sort of thing that would need to eat a Swords to Plowshares pretty much immediately, or it starts killing your opponent. And then that opens up your 2020 to actually get through a little bit later on in the game. But we can't play with this one today, so I did find another somewhat interesting list that we can try instead. So I found this deck list and just edited it ever so slightly. I know some of you are probably sick of seeing this, but Grief is just one of the best things to do in the format right now. And I found this list that had 4 Reanimates, 2 Trolls, 3 Bowmasters, and I swapped 2 Bowmasters for 2 more Trolls. I figure consistently hitting my land drops and sort of increasing the upside of actually scoring this Grief Reanimate Troll synergy is pretty high, especially when I can use Once Upon a Time in the initial turn to either find a Grief or find a black card to pair with it. Obviously, the overall combo is attempt to copy Dark Depths with Thespian Stage to produce your 2020, or otherwise rip the ice counters off of it with Vampire Hexmage to get your 2020. But we can just choose to also grind out the game. We can wasteland our opponent. We can set up situations where we can go for it with protection. And something that I've been saying again and again and again while facing the blue-black Reanimator deck list is that that deck doesn't have a lot of removal. It really and truly does not have many answers to a 2020. So if you can set that up while dodging or playing around Wasteland, you are probably going to get your free win. If there's a home for Legolas's quick reflexes, it's in a shell that looks like this, and Elvish Spirit Guide can kind of turn it into our build your own force of will. And while I maybe don't want to max out on artifact mana or Elvish Spirit Guides or anything like that, having a couple to have access to that trick is, I think, pretty strong. Sideboard is pretty normal green-black cards, so I don't really have much to say here. So let's go ahead and just jump into the league directly. If you find you need some cards, especially if you are going to SCGCon Atlanta, Command Fest LA, or Command Fest Dallas, consider ordering online from toamagic.com and having event pickup on site. It is super convenient and saves you the stress of running around to a lot of different vendors. That being said, let's battle. All right, opening hand is very, very good here. I think I'm just pitching the Bowmasters to Grief so that if I don't need to Grief twice, I can just Troll and Reanimate. And it's a much stronger clock. So if I take, Daze and Delver, I can probably pretty reasonably Reanimate Troll and resolve it a lot of the time, but my opponent gets to look at a whole bunch of cards. I think I'm going to take my opponent's Delver and their answer to Grief and just Reanimate the Grief on turn 1 when it's guaranteed to resolve. And then we can have Legolas's quick reflexes backing up Grief as of next turn. Given how this played out, I do wish I had the Bowmasters instead of Troll, but I really like having that possible flexibility. Oh, that is savage. Never didn't have it. I guess my opponent has Daze, though, right? Do I have a Surveil land in this deck? I do. Let's do that, then. Let's pick that up and Surveil. I am perfectly happy with an Elvish Reclaimer. Alright, so Trop's still in hand. Why are we doing Brainstorm after the land drop? Now they can't fetch away something critical. Like the option is not there. Okay, yeah. So let's play a Boseiju. If I play Reanimate first, I can play around Spell Pierce, which is not a card that I expect. I'll be worse against Force of Will. I would love to get this forced. I think I do want to play around the potential Spell Pierce. So there's the second Brainstorm, which is just looking at one more card than what my opponent had in hand previously. Okay, we're in play. I'll drop an Elvish Reclaimer in addition to that, and I've got Legolas's Quick Reflexes to protect creatures. And it can also just be used as a removal spell if my opponent plays out a creature of their own. Hello, yes, you may Brainstorm again. It's such a minor thing, but I really wonder if my opponent just like lost the game on the spot when they made that land drop prior to Brainstorming. Like, I don't know that they have the fetch land now. They've looked at the same handful of cards a couple of times now. Wasteland is a little annoying, but I guess it has to be like second main phase Bolt for it to like really matter. Second main phase Bolt. This is the creature that actually matters. Like, this is the one that I want to protect. That's an awkward draw, but this creature hits like a truck. That's fine. That's Brainstorm 4. My opponent liked whatever they looked at with DRC. I'm maybe not going to assume that Daze is there anymore. Sure. So now they can surveil away a card they didn't like, which is a land. They've only got one card left. Sure. So there is some question about whether or not I should just like fire off Legolas's Quick Reflexes and just use it as an instantaneous removal spell for this creature. I am at 10. I am more afraid of Murktide Regent than I am DRC. Brazen Borrower is potentially a problem. I can't play out Vampire Hexmage while also holding up Legolas's Quick Reflexes. Artifact, land, instant, creature. My opponent can remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instants, still have an instant in there. An 8/8 Murktide Regent kills me in 2 turns. So I attack my opponent to 8. Murktide into Murktide is a problem. I've seen 3 of the 4 lightning bolts. I think I'm just going to off this creature. So Troll attacks will kill DRC. Opponent goes to 8. I'll just grab another land here. Make that land drop and pass. Wasteland's fine. We'll float a mana. Alright, it's not Murktide or Brazen Borrower. Well, I guess it could still be Brazen Borrower, but my opponent should do it while I don't have Legolas's Quick Reflexes up if they have the ability to. Yeah, can't cast Hexmage, can't cast Elvish Spirit Guide. Seek the Beast is fine. Those cards don't do anything by themselves. But my opponent is presumably looking for 1 Brazen Borrower. They can't double Lightning Bolt this creature, since there's already 3 Lightning Bolts in Graveyard. They probably can't produce 3 blockers for it. Well, they chose to not shuffle. Alright. Sure. So, do we have Upkeep Brazen Borrower? Okay, we have Unholy Heat. That'll do. So we'll Swamp Cycle a Troll. Get a Bayou. Play a Bayou. Play a Hexmage, which I can play around Daze if need be. There's the Daze. There's me playing around it. Now my opponent has an active blocker for this. I do have First Strike, so that's a thing. Alright, as expected. Nice. I don't mind that at all. That gives me some really cool first strike, remove counter shenanigans. Send it. Opponent's at 1. Alright, they are seeking the beast. They found another unholy heat. Okay. This is just a chump block since I have first strike. This is definitely annoying though. So they get to questing beast. Oh, they did that wrong. So you're supposed to cast the unholy heat first. That way, if I sacrifice a Vampire Hexmage to remove counters, I only remove 1 counter instead of 2. Yeah, so this triggers. It's targeting this Hexmage. Confirm, targeting this Hexmage. I sacrifice this Hexmage to remove all of the counters from this Druid. Now my opponent has to chump block again. Send it. That makes sense. I think I'm just going to use this as a mortuary. Can use it as a wasteland. It enters tapped. I think I just want to make my next turn cycle as good as possible. If my Vampire Hexmage is still in play, that card is very good. I'm going to just accept that draw. My opponent has used a lot of removal already. We're seeking the beast again. That's a lot of creatures. My opponent can now cast both of these and scale up Questing Druid. The really frustrating thing here is that they produced creatures of 2 different colors. That matters more so than anything else here. I can't just Sajiri step my way through the blockers. I lose if this Delver randomly flips. That was a particularly savage questing Druid flip for me. So it goes. I will be just going for the Dark Depths. My attack here is free. Alright, opponent figured it out, so I'll deal some first strike damage to that for funsies. And then I'll do this. And make my 20/20. I need Delver to not randomly blind flip. Alright, cool. My opponent currently does not have a flying blocker. What a slog of a game. I like removal spells. I like Unlicensed Hearse. Drop rotation is kind of risky. I might still just need it. Can I reasonably get rid of Once Upon a Time? I don't like it unless it's in my opening hand. I guess this game was not fast, right? I think I'm just going to get slightly worse at assembling my combo so that I have some more defensive options. Not really sure. Like, there's a lot of slots dedicated to Grief Troll Reanimate nonsense, because it's really strong. Exhibit A. We're hoping for no turn 1 threat. Rats. I'm actually really, really happy that I drew that. So let's grief, pitch a grief. I'm getting dazed. I will fully just pay for that. I don't need to start the game with the threat in play, I don't think. I think I'm just going to extract my value. Price of Progress. Grafdigger's Cage. I will just take the Grafdigger's Cage so that I can reanimate. Let's see if Delver blind flips. It's scary if it does. Does not. That is a boon for me. I'm just going to confirm. I believe I have a basic forest. I do. Yeah, so let's go grab that. I'm going to reanimate, target my grief. My opponent can brainstorm in response and hide a card, but we'll still get something. And we're kind of trying to make this Price of Progress look much worse. Surgical is kind of daggers because it also gets a card from my hand here. So it looks like my Elvish Reclaimer is just going to get lightning bolted unless my opponent put that card 2 cards down. I think I'm just going to accept that and take the resource exchange. Like if I were them, I would probably be flipping the Delver to Lightning Bolt. We have gotten the oops in chat. Target player gains 3 life. The target is me. Alright, Lightning Bolt takes out my creature. Opponent does not have more land, which is cool for me. I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and immediately turn this into a non-wastelandable land. Delver flips to the price, which my opponent can't currently cast and is not particularly good right now. Not sure that I play either one of these. Hey. Yep. To play around days, I kind of need to play another land. Do I want to play around days? Like, my opponent has one unknown card. Maybe I don't play around days and just give myself the maximum amount of time to draw out. Cool. I take 3 more here. So I need to deal with this wasteland. I think I can put this in play. My opponent messes up and like casts his Price of Progress. Oh, are you gonna do it? Oh, it's Lightning Bolt, sure. All right, I'm at 8. I'm at 5. So if I go to copy, they just Wasteland Dark Depths, and I don't get to copy my thing. Heyo. Pass turn. I might need a draw step stop. All right, so my opponent casts Price of Progress. I am not going to allow that to deal any damage to me. Since Wasteland is now tapped, I believe that I Wasteland Volcanic Island instead of Wasteland Wasteland. This plays around some sort of weird thing like a Submerge. Nope. Now I'll copy my Dark Depths. Keep the one with no ice counters. My opponent deals 2 damage to themselves. Good spell. I did not need this. My opponent has to hold this back to chump block. Cool. Bend it. Fantastic. Okay. Is there any reason to not play Vampire Hexmage? I think this is fine to do. Sure. Because we're not playing into Redland, DRC, block, draw price, price, dead. Still playing around that. I don't know that I should have won that one. I don't remember if my opponent missed 3 or 6 points of damage by missing their Delver flip, but it feels like they were in the driver's seat for that game. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and honestly, they're just the best at what they do. If you need to keep your deck lists online, this is the way to do it. They have all sorts of different viewing options. You can condense that text if you like things to be tight. You can make them visual grids. You can put them in stacks. You've got all sorts of different ways to kind of view and visualize your deck lists. And they also have some really cool functionality, like allowing you to see playtest hands and even fully playtest your decks. So check them out. So here's the deal. I hit keep with this hand, and I did not mean to keep it. So this was a mulligan. Let the record show. I was eating breakfast. Sure. It seems like we're playing a mirror, and Wasteland just gets shut off immediately. So the way that I probably win this one is by staging my opponent's depths. I don't have an Ancient Tomb, right? I don't have an Ancient Tomb. This is a little awkward because like this enables some of my opponent's mana, but I don't think I can play Boseiju as a land because sometimes I need to use that defensively. Saga, sure. Am I Boseijuing that? Yeah, I'm probably Boseijuing that. That's fine. While my opponent can't crop rotation, I will go ahead and just take out this land. And then I'm fine if I get pinged. I'd love it if my opponent played an Urborg. That would be real cool of them. I'm at 17. No, my turn was going to be so good. Yeah. All right. I don't have a second Boseiju, right? I have 1. That's rough. So I always play one of these. Between these two, kind of have the tools that I need. Like one of these gets an Urborg, one of these gets a Dark Depths. So let's get the Urborg now and play out my Hexmage. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this because like Bowmasters is here and like there could be more copies. I don't know that I have a lot of time to fart around. Like, I will die to Urza Saga construct tokens, and I don't think, like, Echoing Deeps lines are good if my opponent has more artifacts than I do. But we'll see. I definitely feel like I'm on the wrong side of the matchup. Like, I think my opponent's build that has Urza's Saga is going to be better in this pseudo mirror than my version with Grief. Well, I control Reanimate if that's a thing that I want to do. Let's make mana. I guess I don't have to do this at sorcery speed. I can wait till my opponent taps the Urza Saga to better play around crop rotation. So 2 mana is this. I have 2 more mana. Am I fine to Reanimate Troll? I think it's just better to play another one of these in case things get weird. Okay, they are doing the thing. Now I will go 1, 2, activate this, junk a stage, get a depths, use this Hexmage, and make my 20/20 while my opponent can't attempt to copy it. And we don't get blown out by like a Pithing Needle. Opponent does not have blue mana for something like an Aether Spellbomb. You can maybe stay alive for a little while with Shadow Spear. Loading mana. Alright, my Reclaimer gets shut off. That's Caracas. Fuck. Yeah. Damn it. Alright. I'll eat this damage. I need another Dark Depths now. How am I stopping Caracas? I guess I'm just hoping that my opponent... Does Troll save me life? Troll probably saves me life. All Mortuary. Multiple crop rotations. Wasteland is off. And I can't stop that. So I think I just put that into Graveyard. Lose 6 to Reanimate the Troll. And I try to be the beatdown. Which is definitely scary. Alright. Opponent's at 13. I have a crop rotation that represents an Urza's Saga. That's not super strong. This is fine. I think it's actually supposed to just go on one of these other creatures. So, because like the 5 still trades here. Maybe the life swing is worth it though. I'll go ahead and block here. I'm fine taking this damage. I'm at 3. End of turn. Crop rotation. Echoing Deeps. And Urza's Saga. I get Bosejude now. Bayou. It's certainly an interesting game. First Strike Wall is kind of nice. Brief's Evasion is kind of nice. I think I'm just going with First Strike Wall. Kind of sucks that multiple Griefs are on bottom, though, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm just attacking with 1 creature. And maybe it should be a Hexmage. Yeah, my opponent drawing Bowmaster is so good right now. Okay. Okay. I don't have the Caracas that my opponent has. I hope I didn't miss a window where my opponent tapped Caracas to like equip a Shadow Spear or something. I might have autopiloted through that. At this point, I just pass the turn and see if my opponent goes for it. And they do. I am dead to that. Yeah, my opponent gets to control the battlefield a little better than I do. So I like Caracas. I think I like this well enough. And then I can consider some amount of all of this. I have no idea how to sideboard here. Like, it feels like the portion of the deck that I'm most likely to kill my opponent with is this, rather than my combo. I think I need Force of Vigors for Urza Saga more so than anything else. How many Wastelands am I on? 2? I'm on 2 Wastelands. I can probably board out a couple Dark Depths. Playing that card out early is risky. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm playing tempo in this matchup. Get rid of you. Do I get rid of Quick Reflexes? Quick Reflexes is nice. sometimes it feels narrow. Like, I'm not trying to protect Merit Lage from Caracas. I am trying to out-tempo my opponent here. This hand doesn't do anything meaningful. What about this one? I don't have green mana. Oh, no, I do have green mana. This is a YOLO hand that I think I am keeping. I don't feel good about it. But this is just turn 1, drop rotation, or Dark Depths, play Urborg. Oh, it's got red. Was that Moloch, maybe? Is there a reason to do this on my turn versus end step? If I do it now, I never draw Dark Depths. I guess I could get end of turn wastelanded, so I just crop rotation, get Dark Depths, play Urborg, Vampire Hexmage, do the thing. In there, upkeep, crop rotation, Dark Depths, Urborg, Hexmage, pass. I think I'm just doing it. This is a YOLO hand. This is like I'm going to lose to Caracas or Wasteland or whatever. I don't think it's correct to go to 5 though. Okay. You just have your own. You have the Caracas. Yep. I don't regret anything. I think I am now massively unfavored. I think that was the case from the deck building stage, so we'll deal with it. Sure. Well, hopefully I draw a green card that can answer that. We'll go to 16 to get rid of this. Dark Depths off the top. Wait, that wouldn't do anything. There's a green card. A little awkward because like a crop rotation will be available for this Urza Saga. Sure. That's why I didn't play the Hexmage out. I'm at 15. Well, let's attempt to nuke this. Okay. I might just be willing to concede here. So much has to go right for me to win here. I think I'm just going to move on. All right, I have a reasonable opening hand here that has a fair amount of flexibility. I don't think I am interested in just going as turbo as possible with this hand. I think I'm going to try to play it a little more patiently. Are we reanimating now? Am I just jamming that? No? Feels like I don't just jam that into days here. Let's see what my opponent's got going on. Basic Island. And then there's the upkeep shuffle. So we're probably playing against white removal, but the second basic island makes me think that we might just be playing against something like High Tide. In which case I do actually want to put the pedal to the metal here. So I think I am just going to make a 20/20. Sacrifice Boseiju. Pick up Dark Depths. Play Urborg so that Dark Depths actually taps for mana. Copy Dark Depths. Keep the one with no ice counters. And battle. And this puts an incredible amount of pressure on my opponent to win the game on their own turn, which is tough if my opponent is playing High Tide. Could be something like Mono Blue Omniscience as well, which is probably what we're seeing. Put in a Troll. You have like an Emrakul to go with this? Not immediately. My opponent has 5 cards, like I am very scared. Yeah, there's the Emrakul. So I get annihilated, I get attacked for 15. I don't have the main deck Caracas, even if I did, it's not really good with Omniscience. So we got. Caracas has text. Force of Vigor technically does stuff, but if my opponent's mono blue, it's actually pretty hard to meaningfully stop the Omniscience. Like, sometimes you can get a cantrip, like, they fire off a cantrip in response, and you can do something. I don't know that I'm excited about that. Opposition Agent is a thing that I can cast. I don't know that Legolas's quick reflexes matters that much. My opponent will probably have some bounce spells, but I have other forms of protection already. Probably take the Bog out, so I am replacing it with another random land. This is fine. I am planning on killing my opponent with Grief and Troll if possible, rather than Dark Depths. It's just faster a lot of the time. This hand fully just feels too slow to me. I don't have a black card for the grief here. Well, I mean, I guess I could do this. I would need an Urborg or a Yavimaya or a Dark Depths as a draw to just turn 3. Turn 1 Bioreclaimer and Grief. Turn 2 Stage. Activate, get Dark Depths. I guess this has a clear path to victory. So I will keep it. But I don't think I Grief on turn 1. I think I hold that Grief to see if I draw a black card next turn. Super punished for doing so. But the upside is just so incredibly high. I don't know, maybe I'm undervaluing Force of Vigor if I have things like Grief that I can put in. So now it starts getting into the, do I reanimate Elvish Reclaimer? Do I Grief my opponent territory? And the decisions are really tough. I think I need to Grief my opponent. I don't think I want to give them a turn to find protection for a potential. Oh, so glad I Griefed. We'll take the show and tell here. I could get like cheeky and take Omniscience. My opponent casts Show and Tell, and I just get to make an extra land drop, and I put Emrakul back in hand with Karakas. However, if my opponent waits and gets another Omniscience, I feel like a big dum-dum. I think I'm just going to take the Show and Tell. Like, if I were the opponent and my opponent left me with Show and Tell Emrakul, like, every alarm bell in my body would just be going like, this is a trap, do not cast this spell. All right, my opponent did not Brainstorm lock themselves. They're not guaranteed to have these cards anymore. Trolls, kind of whatever here. Like, it's much needed selection. No. Sure. All right. Does Reanimate go on Troll or Grief? 6, 12, 18, 24. Maybe 3 instead of 4. I think I'm putting it on Grief. I guess Reclaimer is also worth thinking about. Yeah, maybe I'll just Reclaimer. Like, Reclaimer works towards just killing my opponent. Oh no. Dead to Intuition. Okay, cool. That's fine. Oh, there's more. A second Impulse. That's a lot of looks. So I kind of just looked at 8 cards for Show and Tell or other cantrips for Show and Tell. Uh-huh. Sure. That did shuffle. I have Thespian Stage here. I think I'd turn it into an Ancient Tomb. Just makes some of my lines a little bit cleaner. So do this. Play Hexmage. Activate this. Hexmage Depths. Or I can just not cast this card. Tap 2, do this, activate this, keep this in hand, keep Karakas up. I think I like that better. But one of us is probably dead in the next turn cycle. I feel like statistically it's probably me more often than my opponent. Shit. That's just Omniscience into Emrakul, presumably. Which I don't beat. Okay, second Omniscience. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 permanents. I can keep 1 permanent, but if I Dark Depths, I lose 2. So it's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All my stuff gets annihilated. I had some other choices available to me in this game. Like, I can Grief to take one of these 2 instead of Elvish Reclaimering. Yeah, really interesting game. This hand doesn't do anything. Easy mulligan. What does this hand do? This hand once upon a times for a way to do this thing as quickly as possible. This is perfectly fine. I'm going to keep this and probably get rid of 1 crop rotation. Feels like tempo. Looks like tempo. Now, do I play the Once Upon a Time before making a land drop? I think no. Like, I could play for a Spirit Guide with Daze if my opponent dazed. That is none of the cards that I wanted to find. Ooh, buddy. I think I'm going to take a Bowmasters and hope Delver doesn't flip. I think I'm going to play my tapped land right now. No Delver flip is exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, baby. Crop rotation, paying green, sacrificing Bojuka Bog. It works. Urborg? Urborg's really good right now. Sort of interestingly, this also lets me Troll Cycle this turn. Sure. And they shuffled to boot. I'm going to assume that was a missed attack. I'll just get a Bayou. Reclaimer's great. Before my opponent does anything else here, I think I'm going to attempt this. Seems very likely to resolve. And next turn I can make a 20/20 if it feels safe to do so. Otherwise, like, I just play Elvish Reclaimer and start trying to grind out this game. I have 1 land in graveyard already. I'm happy with how this is going. Yeet. I think I will go ahead and attack with the Orc, but not the Bowmaster. Opponent's at 19. Copy depths. And I've got a 20/20. Hashtag deal with it. Oh yeah. And my opponent concedes. They were presumably looking for a Brazen Borrower. So, Bursts and removal is probably what we're thinking about. What did I do last time? I think I was looking at some amount of this stuff to come out. So how do I feel about the quick reflexes? It defends Grief, Hexmage, to a lesser extent Bowmasters. It's removal, which I guess is maybe the more important part. I have no idea. Yeah, I am so unsure about what to do here. Is crop rotation worse than Once Upon a Time? I don't know. I don't know that I like this one. Once Upon a Time theoretically finds me a green source, but even if I find that green source, the hand is still just a bit clunky. If Once Upon a Time finds me an Urborg, though, we're off to the races. Maybe it's a keep. I think I upkeep the Once Upon a Time so it doesn't get dazed, though. Okay, that's an Urborg. I think we're going for it. I think I play Dark Depths on turn 1, Urborg on turn 2. Probably don't grief immediately. I think probably don't grief immediately. So Delver presumably is going to flip. Flips to Force of Will. Understood. Yep. Ooh. Don't love that. We'll see if my opponent wastelands me immediately. They don't. How do I thread this? Just play Wasteland this turn and pass? Seems like the answer. It's a little weird because I'm not, like, doing anything. See if my opponent decides to Wasteland my Dark Depths. Because if they don't, on the next turn I do disgusting things. Holy creatures. Okay. That is a lot of surveilling. I am going to get attacked here for 6. But I'm at 11. I imagine this happens now. Yeah. I can double snuff out. 8 plus 3 is 11. I think I just end up being a little too slow here. My opponent's Wasteland won them this game. I'm going to grief and take a look at their hand to see if there's anything cool over there. Multiple counterspells. Okay. That's fine. My hand was kind of awkward. I think when I'm on the play, these are less good. I don't know. They're still just like removal for creatures. Like I get a grief or a larger Elvish Reclaimer into play, and then I set this up. I'm just so lost how I am supposed to approach sideboarding here. This feels like a no. I am not excited about this hand. I don't think I go to 5. I think I'm keeping this getting rid of Troll and intending on hard casting Grief later on. But I am relatively unhappy about this hand. Alright, cool. No turn 1 threat. That gives me some time to actually do some stuff, but I kind of wish that I had a land like Urza's Saga that I could be grinding with right now. Or my opponent has an absolute fistful of interaction. That's horrifying. I'll pick up the depths now in case I draw a Vampire Hexmage specifically. Sure. So let's grief. Pitching a grief. Holy shit. Okay. That's a lot of stuff. What am I most scared of? Most of it's not castable. I'll take a Force of Will. I will make a land drop. I will cast a Reanimate targeting the Grief. I think you just let that resolve. I think now I take Murktide Regent. It blocking is one of the more relevant things that can happen. Do I want to play around like Stifle by just doing this now? I think so. I'm basically always doing this. Let's junk Bayou for Thespian stage. And if my opponent rips Wasteland as their top card, I just have Echoing Deeps to replace the side that is Wastelanded. Alright, cool. We win that one. This is a slower hand in all likelihood. I think I'm just going to keep it anyway. Like, I've got a couple of land drops, a couple of tutors. There's things to like here. Let's figure out what this plan looks like. I'm fine with taking a Dark Depths here. Let's go Bayou and put this in play. I don't think I want to Grief. The Vampire Hexmage is quite valuable. And I'm potentially holding this up against Wasteland right now. Brainstorm's fine. My spell's in play. Now some portion of the time this represents Sajiri. With second Grief. I think I am comfortable doing this. My opponent's hand is pretty slow. I don't need to cast any other spells, right? Not really. I can take the Murktide as a blocker, or I can just take up the Beanstalk, because if my opponent wins, the way that they win is by spiraling. I think I'm just going to take that. And we'll call it a turn here. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. End of turn. I guess if I can't be Force of Willed right now, because my opponent has one unknown card, I guess if I can't be Force of Willed, getting Urborg is just like perfectly reasonable and good. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. So just in case, let's reanimate the Grief. We take Bowmasters if there's nothing else there. Haha. Yeah, you can have that card. So I'll take the Bowmasters. There's two unknowns. Or sorry, there's two known cards. I'm just going to make my 20/20 now. That way Wasteland doesn't randomly get me. And we beat a top-decked Swords to Plowshares. My opponent would need like a Brainstorm into multiple cards or equivalent here. Alright, my opponent went into the tank. Yep. Sure, they get no cards with the Witherbloom. My opponent has one Underground Sea left as their only card, which means that I can just safely go for a kill. Tajiri, go pro blue, and there we go. There's probably like a singleton Life from the Loam that I care about. There's maybe some graveyard-oriented stuff. You know, your Leyline of the Void, Grafdigger's Cage type cards. I think I like the extra bodies. I really like this card. I think I'm going to go down some number of crop rotations for these three cards. I am unsure if this hand actually has a plan. Like, this can't find a Reanimate for Grief. This represents my second land drop. My first one, ETB's tapped. Like, if I think I can play a long game and just cast a bunch of creatures, like, I don't treat Grief as a free spell. I just treat this as having 4, in theory, castable cards with 1 piece of protection from them. Maybe this is fine. I do have a lot of mana. I'm likely to hit more land drops. I'm just not sure if this is fast enough. Like, if I keep a hand with this speed, does my opponent just get set up with beans or drop a Murktide and I just die to it? I think I'm going to take a mulligan. Yeah. This is a keep. I have no idea what to put back. Like, presumably these 3 cards go together. I think I'm going to do this. Now I don't have to worry about casting the Hexmage. Alright. Let's see what's up. I'll take the swords here. And I'll reanimate the Grief. We may end up seeing a Brainstorm in response to hide whatever my opponent thinks is their best card. I also think it's reasonable to just cycle Lorien Revealed in response. Alright, they are going the Brainstorm route. As a force of negation, junking Lorien revealed. So my hand does not do a lot in the short term now. So I really don't want to see beans here. I guess my opponent could also just drop a fucking Murktide. Yeah. Reclaimer is great. Maybe drop that off Yavimaya. Opponent is miracling a triumph now. The lifelink is very actively good here. And I am definitely scared. I don't have a Maze of Ith type card in my deck. But I think my plan is... I guess I don't need to execute this plan at sorcery speed. I can wait. Oh no, there's more. Oh, sure, that's fine. That's just working on domain for Leyline Binding type cards. So I am not sure how good I am going to be at protecting a Dark Depths kill. With a 5/5 lifelinker in play on the other side of the table, I might kind of be forced into a position where I just go for it. I'll eat 5. This unfortunately puts my opponent outside of one-shot kill range, which certainly matters. So now we're going to fetch, put this trigger on the stack. Oh fuck, I needed to hold priority to do this the way that I wanted. I'm an idiot. Oh wait, no, I did not need to hold priority. Okay. Yeah, so with that on the stack, now I junk this and get the Thespian stage. Like, man, I really just wish I had Urza's Saga right now. Don't want that. Just having Urza's Saga to start that grind. Oh, that's a really good draw. Yep. That's fine. I get pinged. Sure. It's a little awkward if Bowmaster attacks, whether or not I actually go for the block. I guess it would force my opponent to like use the Bowmaster to ping and attempt to kill the Reclaimer. I guess I can just rotate and turn it into a 3/4 so that attack doesn't actually make sense. Okay. Sure. I'll take that damage. 8. So right now I can go 1, 2, activate with crop rotation available. If I wait a turn and draw a land, I can maybe have this available too. Am I just starting with crop rotation for Wasteland and then just like hoping that my opponent does not have a white removal spell? I think if I wait a turn and I miss my land drop, my opponent just has another draw to have more interaction. So I think I'm just going. All right. So I will attempt to do the thing. I don't think this is any different than a second ago. This is still just like if my opponent has the white removal, it beats me. Yeah. So now, do I Echoing Deeps get another Dark Depths? That sounds good. And then hope to top deck Thespian stage. Reef's not great right now. I'll pick up Bayou and pass. I turn Bayou into Thespian stage. I'm at 28 life, so I've got time. But over time here, I probably just end up getting buried by Triumph. I guess, like, the big scary moment is when my opponent goes above 40. Go get stage. That's probably just a land drop. So now I'm just looking for one other land drop of some kind. Because then I Dark Depths activate with protection. Alright. So this isn't attacking. Is that my opponent saying I don't have removal, so I can't attack into this? A really good bluff if my opponent doesn't actually have interaction. How well has my opponent played this game? I am going to read this as I don't have it. Not that this is a bluff. Alright, do you have it? Holy shit, I've untapped. Ho 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 ho. I don't think I use that as removal. I think I just keep multiple layers of protection here. There is also things like Terminus that could happen. Yeah, you can just chump. Yeah, this is fine. Bowmasters is also fine. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I'm still good. I'm just gonna take that hit. 40's kind of the magic number where things matter, but I'm not even sure that I interact at all right now. I'm just so safe. I think this is fine to do. This still holds up Elvish Reclaimer and Quick Reflexes. I think I'm just going to let my opponent hit me for 5 more. Doesn't seem like this damage matters all that much. That's fine. Cool. How do I use this? I can knock my opponent off of colors, like make Lightline Binding worse. I think that's what I'm interested in. I guess if I'm interested in that, I don't do it now. Bam. Alright, opponent's at 2. I think I'll let them go to their turn, see if they want to use any mana end of turn. Sure. Getting a Tundra. I think at this point, I will go ahead and just Wasteland the Xander's Lounge. So this draws a card. My opponent targets the 20/20, in which case I activate this. Sacrifice the Boseiju. Get Sajiri. Go pro-white here. I assume my opponent is now going to respond. Oh, no, just dead. So we end up with a 3-2 league for this one. I don't know how I feel about this one, folks. I very much felt, and I'm going to use the podcast slang from this week's episode. I guess it'll be last week for you all. I very much felt the opportunity cost of putting these into my deck this time around. I felt like sideboarding was just so incredibly difficult because I don't really want to touch this 12-card package, and I don't really want to take out things like Elvish Reclaimer either, because like they are tutors for my Dark Depths combo. So like these 16 cards and these 12 cards don't have a ton of overlap. Like this is a plan and this is a plan. You know, sometimes I'll reanimate a Hexmage or reanimate a Reclaimer, and that helps me try again. You know, Grief just as a free take a peek, see if it's okay to make a Merit Lage is fine. But there's definitely a little bit of tension in deck building here. And I found this deck very difficult to play. And I'm not sure if it's because I don't have reps with this specific build, or if it's because the deck is just a little bit clunky. The deck is doing something powerful, like it is a correct power level thing for Legacy. I'm just not sure how much I like this. Like, I very much liked, what was there, like a round 1 or 2 opponent who was playing Dark Depths but just had like Urza Saga and Pithing Needles. Like, I think that's the approach that I would take if I was playing Depths. I think that Urza Saga backup plan to help exhaust resources versus control opponents, and to offer like Shadow Spear or Lifelink options for tempo opponents feels really good to me. So I think, generally speaking, in terms of power level, this is here, but I don't think I recommend this one. I think I ultimately give this one the thumbs down, despite the winning record. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed. I would legitimately like to hear your thoughts on this deck list down below, and if you decide you want to play some of these cards, check out toamagic.com and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!